Alec Show podcast.
It's my Alec Show, baby!
I will say the other thing with that really is that, you know, the one constant in my career and my ability to accomplish whatever it is that I'm doing, whether it was PR or, you know, running a conference or producing a film or whatever the hell it is I do now, teaching, is really being able to develop and maintain relationships in an authentic, genuine, non-transactional way.
Absolutely.
And, you know, sometimes that doesn't mean that you can't have a relationship with somebody where you need something from them and they need something from you and you can help each other. But if that's the sole purpose or agenda of how you interact with people, those relationships aren't going to last. And then what will happen is when you're no longer useful to that person, they have nothing to retain for you. Exactly. So, you know, as somebody who's changed jobs and careers multiple times, and often, you know, I go from like a big name company to having to do something that maybe isn't as immediately eye-catching. You know, it's one thing to make a phone call on behalf of John Krasinski. It's another thing to make a phone call on behalf of me. And whether somebody is willing to pick up and have that interaction with me has a lot to do with how I interact with them, unrelated to the work that we do. So that I am not just Rebecca from South by Southwest, I'm Rebecca. And then they're like, and people say, oh, you're not at South by Southwest anymore? What are you doing now? Or how have you been? And it's not just, oh, you can't help me at South by anymore, so I don't need you anymore. So that's the other thing I always try to advise people, is to really make sure that when they're developing relationships, they're doing it in a way that is about the relationship and not about whatever the transaction may or may not be, and letting those things develop more organically.
I totally agree. Keeping it authentic and organic is a big thing for me, right? Like in doing this. And that's always my goal with networking or meeting other people, is just trying to do it genuinely and for the right reasons, like not trying to get something out of it transactionally, right?
Right.
And that's why I appreciate you taking the time to hop on this podcast with me, because in all honesty, like there's nothing, you know, coming out of this per se for you, but you're helping me out, and this is just a genuine conversation we're having so that, you know, others might be able to take value from it, right? And I think, like, at least like in the business school at UT, there's a huge problem with that. Like around the culture is like everything's transactional. Everyone you meet, trying to get, you know, jobs in like the big four in accounting or consulting or investment, it's extremely transactional. It's like a lot of extrinsically motivating, toxic stuff going on. And I was talking with a buddy about it the other day, and it's just like, doing things genuinely, meeting people and having genuine relationships in the long term, it's going to work out a lot better for you, because when there's nothing transactional about it anymore, those relationships are what's going to hold, and those bonds are what's going to pay off in that network. So that's why I just try to keep it genuine, and that's kind of my motto for doing things. And maybe in the short term it doesn't, you know, go as well, but I think in the long term it's better for your brand, it's better for your career and your life. You know?
Maybe it does though. Maybe it does go as well in the short term. Yeah. I mean, you can't assume it doesn't. I think I'm glad you're thinking in that way. I think there's a lot of transactional people out there. There's a lot of transactional industries out there. And so, you know, I have never fallen into those camps, but I also feel like there's that brings a lot of pressure to kind of conform. And if you're not doing those things, then what are you doing? You know, if you're not growing, you're dying, whatever. You know, there's so many business isms that are actually very stupid and useless, because you don't have to do that. You don't have to perpetually be on some, you know, linear upswing. You know, you gotta, this goes back to why, you know, I originally left LA, and one of the things I've learned over the years is paying attention to myself. What do I actually want and need? You know, I started my own company 4.5 years ago, and I had a lot of people come to me and say, okay, so what's your 5-year plan? You know, are you going to build an agency? You should be hiring other people. You can be taking on. And I said, I don't want to do that. You may want to do that. You may think that's what you need to do if you start a business. I don't want to. I'm comfortable with it. And that has worked for me, you know, but it's hard when a lot of other people are externally trying to say to you, it's got to be this way. This is the right path. I will be the first person to tell you there is no correct path. There is only your path. There is only what you need in the moment that you need it. You make a decision based on that. That's going to take you the next step. And when you're in that next step, then you reevaluate again, and that's how you take one step after the other, and you keep ending up places that you need to be. whether or not you meant to go there in the first place is kind of irrelevant. So I've never, there's the only thing in my career that I did on purpose was work in entertainment PR. And everything since then has been an evolution of me figuring out what matters to me as a person and the life I want to live.
Don't be such a smart aleck.